So our next performer is Rubin, who is a FTMTF anti-capitalist that spends most of her day asking people for money. In addition to her all her activist work, she's written for a number of zines, and please welcome up Ray.
Basha. Jahaira used to say you were so femme you turned girls into boys, which was sort of the case with me, and Kate, and Dee, and Kale. And I wish I could get in touch with them, find out if they're still boys or if they turned back into dykes when you twirled out of their lives. Probably not. Probably one transition was enough for them. I guess I'm cisgender now, but it just never feels that way, and well, that I feel trans. Technically, I identify with the gender I was assigned at birth. So that second transition, it took away my trans identity, the way bi girls who marry boys sometimes feel like their queer card gets ripped out of their hands. And I get it. I get that when you're part of a community that unifies so much around shared oppression, when someone doesn't experience that oppression, it's hard to welcome them into the club. But I transitioned twice. Shouldn't that make me double trans instead of trans? And when I say I feel trans, I don't mean I feel subversive or that gender is complicated for me. I mean I have trauma from sneaking around in girls' clothes, and it is still scary to run into someone who last saw me when using male pronouns. And coming out to my family was miserable and complicated, and I feel like this huge part of my life was a lie. Like every minute I spent as a boy was me as a fraud, but that every minute I spend as a girl feels like a performance. That sometimes I still just buy the whole outfit the mannequin is wearing because I can't really put girl outfits together just right. I joke about it with Maddie a lot, about sneaking her estrogen or cutting off a tiny piece of a patch and getting that little square outline on my belly. And sort of it's a joke, but sort of it's not, because my PCOS makes me oddly shaped and way too hairy for a girl. Way too hairy for a girl. God, there's just some internalized shit that even living in San Francisco for a decade can't wash away. I went through almost as many hours of electrolysis as she did, and I still have to shave my face more than she does, and I still have to close our bathroom door to do it because there's just a layer of shame I can't shake. But I identify more as an ally than a member these days. And I thought I was such a good ally, so on top of everything, and then we went to Puerto Rico. Maddie and I went swimming in the ocean, and it was cold, and we were walking in slowly, just creeping 1 inch of our body in at a time. And she got to her waist and smiled and says, "The seal is broken." And I stared at her blankly, "What seal?" And she said, "You know, the genital seal, once your genitals cross into the water, it's not cold anymore." And I couldn't commiserate. And we started to figure out that for folks with genitals on the inside, there's no seal there. It doesn't get any colder between your thighs and your waist. And then we go into it a little further, and I feel a sharp sting as my breasts slide into the ocean, and I giggle, "Oh, for ladies, the seal is the nipples." And she looks at me like her heart just shattered, and she says, "What do you mean, ladies?" And I think my lungs collapse because I can't breathe. Why did I say that? What does that mean for ladies? I spent months repeating that phrase in my head for ladies. I want to slit my wrist and crawl into a hole, and I can't tell anyone because I am so shrouded in shame and confusion, and I can't believe I said that. I know I don't think that, so how did that come into my mouth? How do you defend that to yourself? I refuse to say even to myself, especially to myself, that I think of her as a woman. That would be like saying I think of gravity as something that sometimes works. It's ridiculous, and I'm so why did I say that? Where does that come from? And it's been almost a year now, and all I can come up with is that it doesn't matter, that turning it over in my head every 3 hours doesn't make anything better, and that letting it go won't make anything worse. And I wish I had a whole community of cis women with trans girlfriends that I could talk to, but I don't. We know 3 cis-trans dyke couples. One of the couples lives in Canada, and not Toronto, Canada, but like super fucking far away, the canals freeze over Canada. One of them won't talk to us anymore because of a falling out on Facebook. And one of them is steeped in some weird drama around they were poly with rules, but like with the rules, and one of them fucked one of us before they were us, and then they went to a partner, and the partner got mad, and then things settled down, and then I think there's something wrong there. So I call Canada a lot. And then seething with resentment because you had like this giant fucking dyke community of cis trans couples where the trans was, of course, F to M, and fuck you. I get that it's trite, that everyone is already on board, but what the fuck is wrong with the fucking dyke community that embraces trans men at like a goddamn 100-to-1 ratio to trans dykes? I'm not even sick of it. On a political stance, I just want some fucking friends. Speaking of friends, you were the hardest person to come out to that second time. And I didn't even really come out to you, did I? We were dating, we used to cuddle and talk about my belly as its own entity. Mr. Tummy Man was his name. And we were on the phone a few months ago, and you asked how Mr. Tummy Man was doing. And I shook out, I think they go by female pronouns these days. And that was it. You didn't really ask about it again, and I stopped putting on my butchest clothes when we Skyped, and that was it. So much of my boy identity was wrapped up in you, so when you moved to Australia 2 weeks after we broke up, it made the transition a lot easier. I think that's why we broke up, by the way. And I never told you that, and there were so many other things too, but at the core of everything, I needed to transition, and I knew I couldn't do it with you there. We ran into a friend of yours one night in El Rio who had transitioned from F to M to F and was super high femme now, and we were chatting about it later, and you told me you didn't care if I became femme, but I better stay a boy in bed. I couldn't fuck you for 8 months after that, then once, and we broke up. Jahira used to say you were so femme you turned girls into boys, and I'm hoping it's just a coincidence that this time I'm with someone who does that for a living. We went to a party once, and I was chatting with people, and they started outing themselves as her patients. At some point, I looked around, and it occurred to me that if not for her involvement, there wouldn't be any men in the room. She's not like us, though, Maddie. She's attracted to sameness. Butch Maddie likes butch girls, and femme Maddie wants femme girls, and the vast majority of the time, she's just gender-neutral Maddie, so the fit has some flexibility. I think it's all about this endless sense of narcissism, and less about gender, but isn't that what being attracted to sameness is anyway? Just really intense self-love. And it's always been girls for me, but when I'm butch, I'm wanting something in a skirt, and when I'm femme, I like it best when she's in an old t-shirt, and when I'm somewhere in the middle, I'll take either, but definitely not someone else that's somewhere in the middle. So if fucking sameness is about self-love, what does that say about me? That logic isn't fair, not really, but it's hard to let go of still. All of this is so hard to let go of still. But I've always felt like I owed you something, and I'm hoping this letter does it, that after this, we'll be square. But we're never really square with our exes, are we? I wonder sometimes if I feel like I owe you an apology, like, hey Basha, I'm sorry I couldn't be a boy for you. I really tried. I did, if it matters now. And I am sorry if it makes a difference anymore. And I'm hoping one day I'll be sorry just that I couldn't have been honest, and not sorry that I couldn't do a better job being a boy, but I'm pretty sure I'm still sorry for that second one. And not regretful, because I am much too misogynist, Maddie, to wish things turned out differently, but I am sorry. And I believe redemption can only come from ex-girlfriends. So I'm asking for that too, I guess. And also, thank you. Thank you for being so uncompromisingly you that I couldn't help but want that for myself.